There he is. Make sure you get all this on film. Brian Hoffman? Monica Presley, pleasure to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So this is Boston Gardens, huh? Kind of looks like a poor man's Central Park.
Well, Boston is a much smaller city than New York, but you'd be surprised at how big the food scene is, which is why we invited you up here.
Is this camera guy with you, or is he one of my stalker fans?
Yeah, he's part of our production crew. So as I mentioned in my email, this will be your audition. We love Eat This New York's blend of food and comedy, which is why I invited you up here. We're producing a new show all about iconic food in Boston.
Yeah, but does Boston even have iconic food? I mean, it's no New York.
Yeah, see, that's exactly the kind of attitude we're trying to steer people away from. Boston is one of the best food cities in the country, and what better way to show people that than one man's hilarious adventures eating his way through Boston?
Eat This Boston.
Exactly.
I think I'm your man.
Stand here in front of the restaurant and talk to the camera about Chowder, one of Boston's most iconic dishes.
You know, it's funny that you guys claim clam chowder is iconic to Boston because we've actually been doing it in Manhattan since the 1800s. I mean, what you guys have here is just a bastardization of the stuff we've been doing forever with tomatoes and spices.
Yeah, that's not right at all. Boston has been making chowder since before this country began. Here, look at this.
Boston clam chowder dates back to the early days of the first British settlers in one of America's oldest cities. They watched the resourceful American Indians consume the abundance of clams from the Atlantic Ocean and adapted the European fish chowders popular in northern New England and Newfoundland. Named for the French word chauderie, meaning cauldron, these hearty stews contain onions, milk, potatoes, spices, and other variants like butter or salt pork.
See, nothing about tomatoes or spices. Save the tomatoes for the pizza. Everyone knows tomatoes don't belong in real clam chowder.
There are no tomatoes in Benge Oyster's clam chowder. This restaurant is owned by legendary Boston chef Barbara Lynch, who makes simple, honest New England seafood in a refined setting in the South End. In addition to the freshest oysters in town, their clam chowder stands above the rest.
We've many times gotten best chowder in Boston. We do make our chowder a lot differently than a lot of other places. What's traditionally done with New England chowder, which is people cook bacon into the soup and then make a roux with the bacon fat.
Right.
And we don't do that. I know that's a real traditional way to do the soup, but we sweat our vegetables in butter, and then we add clam juice and all the clam meats and the bacon's added later, and we thicken the soup with potatoes. Then it gives it a different texture. It's a real velvety, silky kind of a texture rather than a clumpy, gloopy kind of a texture that you get with the roux. We don't use a roux at all. There's no flour, so if you're a celiac, you're good to go.
They use large top-neck clams for maximum meaty clam flavor and garnish the soup with their version of an oyster cracker, puff pastry tossed with sweet paprika and cayenne pepper. But no tomatoes. What do you guys have against tomatoes in Boston? In New York, we put tomatoes in everything, including the clam chowder. It's so good.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there because you don't need tomatoes in a clam chowder. The acidity would totally mess with the soup. You need to use tomatoes for a sauce or a salad.
Huh. Well, let me see what you're talking about. Oh, wow. That's really good. There's no tomatoes in this.
Not a single one.
I don't feel like
it.
it needs anything, including tomatoes. This is perfect. It's really silky and flavorful. You really taste the clams. All right. Maybe you guys are onto something here. They're also on to a fresh raw bar with revolving oysters and clam selections from all over, but with a focus on local options. Stick around for the lobster rolls, the entrees, and the elevated, classy, tomato-less clam chowder.
The next spot we're going to is Yankee Lobster, an old-school family business that has been operating in this location since 1999.
You call that old school? In New York, we have corner pizzerias older than that.
Well, actually, the Zanti family has been selling seafood in Boston since the 1950s. This is just their newest location.
So I've been here for about 13, almost 14 years now. There was nothing down here at the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. It was all fish pier and, you know, local merchants, really.
In the revitalized Pier neighborhood of the Seaport District, tradition lives on as Yankee Lobster runs a casual restaurant, a local fish market, and a commercial wholesale lobster business out of one storefront. The Zanti family has been running the business since it began in 1950 and opened this location in 2000. Every day, giant lobsters are brought in from local waters for the enjoyment of seafood lovers both on and off premises. Nearby residents and workers flock to the restaurant for a wide range of regional seafood specialties, including the hugely popular lobster roll, a bacon, cheese, and fried pollock sandwich known as a Yankee sandwich, lots of fried clams, and of course, the clam chowder. Alongside the stellar lobster bisque, the clam chowder is rich, smoky, and full of flavors of the sea. The flavor of bacon plays a major role in the soup.
And we don't actually use the bacon bits. We actually just render all the fat and the grease out of it, take all the bacon out, and then just leave that grease right in there. So it has like a smoky flavor that you don't always get in a lot of chowders.
Here they do seafood and chowder the old-fashioned way, with a roux, cream, bacon, and lots of minced local clams, the way it's been done in working-class Boston for decades. This soup's really good too. It's not too thick, really flavorful. I could eat this all day long.
And you can. Yankee Lobster is open all day, every day, for lunch and dinner until 9 p.m.
9 p.m.? What happens if I get hungry at midnight? Or get a craving for clam chowder at 4 in the morning? In New York, our restaurants and bars are open all night, so you can always get something to eat.
Well, here, everyone wants to get home before the T train stops running.
The train stops running? What kind of a third world city is this?
All right, that's enough. This audition is over. I thought you could have an open mind about a new city and its delicious food, but you're clearly too preoccupied with New York to appreciate the true flavor of Boston.
Wait, look, I'm sorry. Look, you're right. You guys have the better clam chowder, no question. I mean, this stuff is delicious. But we have a better subway system. Oh, and taller skyscrapers. Oh, and we have the better sports team. I mean, really, who can compare to the Yankees? What'd you say? You guys ever do this? You ever just do push-ups? Like,
Yeah.